It's time for another video. Get rid of these. And it's going to be based on old ECW and the new ECW. And why I think there's some similarities between the two. And why I think the old ECW was overblown and overrated. And why some of the guys who were in the original ECW are just assholes. I'll explain why. Let's start with the old ECW and the new ECW. I'll admit it was different. I mean, it wasn't the same thing, obviously. It doesn't take much to figure that out because of production and the audience and you know, the wrestlers, the actual were wrestlers in the new ECW. So, let me explain why I think there was one similarity, but no one really ever points it out. And I think that if people pointed it out, there wouldn't be so much negativity, because it did. One of the main reasons why the new old ECW was praised, you can see this in every ECW documentary, in every single interview, anybody's interviewing about ECW, they'll always say this. They'll pump their chest and they'll say, the new ECW gave guys exposure who wouldn't get exposure on Raw, on WWE and WCW. Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko. Those guys were able to show their stuff on ECW. And it gave them exposure to eventually go to WWE or WCW. Now, what did the new ECW do? It gave guys exposure to show their stuff, to see if they're ready to go to Raw or SmackDown. Some guys panned out. Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Jack Swagger. Some guys didn't, like Yoshi Tatsu. But the premise was still there. It was the same exact thing. That's why when people say there's no similarities, I laugh, because there is, and that's a big similarity. Because that's one of the top, if you ask an ECW guy, an old ECW fan, what was one of the top 5 great things about the old ECW, that would definitely be one of them. And if they thought about it, if they didn't have it in, they'd probably think, okay, maybe it should be. Because that's what they always say. They gave guys like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, if he was in there, I don't even remember, Rey Mysterio, and Dean Malenko, gave those guys exposure that they needed to go to WWF and WCW. But what did the new ECW do? Jack Swagger started the new ECW, got the exposure, got to wrestle veterans with William Regal and Christian and Goldust, and he got to move on to the WWE, where he eventually became world champion, and he's still around and he still has a lot of potential. Sheamus, another guy, even though he's not doing well right now, he still has an enormous amount of potential, and he is a good wrestler, and he has been world champion. I mean, I know it's kayfabe, but still, he has had a lot of success in the WWE. And even Kofi Kingston, he's reached his ceiling, but I mean, at least he's reached his ceiling. So, as a mid-card face, so I mean, it did the same exact thing that the old ECW did. So that's one similarity. Now, then that's why I think that's big that people recognize that, and no one ever does. Even if the reasoning's different, I mean, anyone will try to argue and say, well, back in the 90s was more turned about money. Chris Jericho and all those guys were trying to get bigger contracts, and the WWE, if you get a WWE roster, if you're on ECW, you're still getting a lot of money. Even if you're on the new ECW, you're still getting a lot of money. So all that stuff aside, I'm not talking about all that, because that can be brought up just if you want to get a little back to stats and statistics and all that stuff and financial stuff, then sure. But I'm just talking about just what you see on TV. What I saw and what they always talk about in the old ECW was gave guys exposure to go to WWE, WCW, and make a career. What did the new ECW do? Gave guys exposure to make it to Raw and SmackDown and to have a career. Some guys in WCW, they tried to give exposure to Yoshi Tatsu. Didn't work out. But everyone had a chance. And you had a great talent pool. No one ever talks about how great that ECW roster was. The 09-08 roster, there was a lot of good wrestlers there. They put you know why they put all the good wrestlers down there? Like Mark Henry and Goldust and William Regal. You know why they put them all down there? So they can help the young guys out. So, I mean, it was a really good roster. You had a lot of really good wrestling. You know, honestly, I wasn't watching it much. but I have seen a lot of highlights, and I've definitely seen the Goldust Sheamus matches, and they're all good. And the rivalry was very genuine. It was very organic, and a lot of the stuff was very good. And it was given the ECW name, and they shouldn't be given the ECW name, but why not? It was giving a young guy exposure. It was helping a young guy out that wouldn't get the same exposure. You think you're having Goldust Sheamus matches on Raw? No, that's not happening. You think you'd have to be able to have that kind of rivalry on Raw? No. But that Sheamus helped Sheamus out? Tremendously it helped him out. Would you be able to have Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, 20 minutes on Raw, on WWE, WCW? No, probably not. At least not back in like 95, until they brought all the small guys in WCW. Until they brought all the guys over from ECW. Was that going to happen? No. But did it help them get exposure? Yeah. So basically, it did the same thing. Basically, did the same thing. So that's a huge similarity between the two that no one ever talks about. No one ever mentions. Everyone just says, oh, there's no kissing, lesbian kissing, there's no flaming tables, so it's not the same. No. There's no barbed wire, there's no sheet graders, so it's not the same. No. You had actual wrestlers, and you had guys getting exposure. So it was very good. And it was somewhat similar. Now, all the bullcrap was taken out. I'm not saying it's better than the original ECW. I didn't watch either one enough to say which one was better. But I know it's just based on the roster and the matches I have seen. It was good stuff. I think. I'm pretty sure. Because, I mean, just look at the roster. You can't have a roster with Goldust and Wayne Regal and Mark Henry and say, oh, that match is going to suck. Because there's no way that could happen. So, moving on. Talking about the old ECW, why I think it was overblown and overrated. Just first off, a lot of people that act like they love the old ECW, sure, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not arguing facts here, I'm just arguing opinion. I think that a lot of people who love the old ECW don't know anything about the old ECW, and they just say they love the old ECW because there's some kind of myth about old ECW, that it was just a great thing. But I think it's just a myth. I really do. I don't think it really was a great thing. I mean, how can you sit there, if you're a 14-year-old boy or girl, and you're, and you're unsure of yourself, and I mean, and you're like, want to revolt against your parents or something, and you like wrestling, you're like, so what's the best thing? Like Revolutions and everything, and you hear Tommy Dreamer and Paul Heyman on the WWE Network talk about how it was this revolution against the big guys like AEW and WCW, and oh, we were the seed show, but we really brought it, and we were the badasses of that whole thing. You're gonna go along with that. You're gonna act like ECW is great, but you probably haven't seen 1 or 2 episodes. That's why I think a lot of the ECW was great thing was a myth. Why do you think nobody watched back then? Why do you think? Why does 15 years from now, if WWE markets TNA as this ultimately great, awesome thing, and there was a revolution, and they showed highlights of Bully Ray flying through tables, and Dixie Carter getting powerbombed, and Valentine Madison Rain kissing, you're going to think, oh damn, this is the most badass thing. And you're a 15-year-old kid, and you don't know anything about TNA, but you just see all those clips, and you see Bully Ray, and all these people talking about how this is awesome thing, because that's how they talk about it now, like they compare it to the old stuff. And they talk about how it was anti-establishment, and we were the badasses. You're going to think it was awesome. But then you don't realize, well, it sucked. Well, maybe that's why the old ECW didn't get any ratings, even after they're on WWE TV. They embarrassed themselves in an episode of Raw 1997, because it exposed ECW as to the mediocre show it was. Now, if you like ECW, that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong if you like the old ECW. I mean, if there's anyone watching this video outside of my two subscribers, if anyone watched the old ECW, really did watch it, really did like it, they're probably going to be pissed off. Because this is what got me popular in 2007. When I pissed off a lot of the people who watched ECW when I buried the old ECW. And if you like it, I didn't say this back then, but if you like it, that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong if you like the old ECW. I'm just saying, I personally don't believe that a lot of 15-year-old kids who just turn into smarts like the old ECW. Because I think they are relating to, you know, the words that Tommy Dreamer and Paul Heyman spout out on any kind of documentary, and the way WWE markets ECW as this awesome, revolutionary, awesome thing. But I mean, how many things do you know about the old ECW? You know, Shane Douglas throwing a belt. You know, Tommy Dreamer asking for more shots to the back. You know, Sandman with women. You know, Stone Cold. You know, Mikey Whipwreck. And you know, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho. But really, that's all just stuff on the surface. I mean, you can show highlights of TNA, and you can hear people talking about how great it was. You can market it as this awesome thing. And 15-year-old kids who are rebelling against their family and rebelling against society because they're 15-year-old kids are going to latch onto it. I think it's the greatest thing of all time. And that's where I think a lot of the ECW support and lovers come from. You got a guy like Joey Styles going on Twitter saying WWE stole from ECW's playbook in the 90s, which is absolute nonsense, which is completely ridiculous. But people are going to believe it because, wow, people are going to think that he's a badass and he was the announcer and he's, oh, I might get fired for saying this. Like, it's all nonsense. WWE didn't steal from their playbook. That's all myths. That's all made up. The myth of ECW. And it's still being around today. You want something shoved down your throat. You think John Cena shoved down your throat. ECW is still talked about today. You can't get away from it. TNA, the Tommy Dreamer comes out, it's kind of promos about ECW. Taz, they're going to New York, they talk about ECW. WWE Network, all they talk about in the Monday Night War is ECW. ECW did this, ECW did that. You can't escape ECW. And it didn't do anything. Vince McMahon did more to market with ECW than Paul Heyman ever did. Alright. I'm done with ECW. I'm done. It's going to 10 years from now, there'll still be stuff about ECW. And John Cena will be long gone. People still pissed off at John Cena and pumping their chest about ECW. It's going to be nonsense. I can't wait for 20 years from now when TNA is marketed as the most revolutionary thing. Oh well.